Just kidding. You don't get to listen to the third song. I'm ready to go. Hi, everybody. Welcome in. Oh my gosh, YouTube chat. Quantum Chaos is single handedly, not literally single handedly, but like filling up the YouTube chat. What's up? Also, Quantum Chaos has appointed themselves the like police. So if you haven't hit the like button, Quantum Chaos is going to come for you. What's up as well? Gay Fesh. Just the like police. We need at least one person doing the like police thing. Anyway, okay, let's see. My connection kind of paused for a second there. Let's hope that that's not going to continue today. Psychoplebeian, hello. Yes, my hair is wet. You know what's really interesting too is that my hair is going to continue to look wet for a while, and then at some point I'll have to go in and scrunch it, and then it'll start to look dry again, because I actually put styling gel in my hair today. We'll see how that turns out. It's been a while since I've done that. Nethercat, hello. Welcome in. Yeah, I couldn't put off my shower another day. I was like, I have to make sure to get it in the morning before stream. I have a shower chair. Oh, God, you guys. It's made such a big difference to, like, whether or not I shower. And, like, oh, it's so nice. It's good. I highly recommend getting whatever accommodative objects you need. Listen, do you think you would walk a little bit easier if you had a cane? Then get a fucking cane. You know, just get one. If you're like, if I get tired in the shower, then fucking get a shower chair. But yeah, anyhow, hope everybody's been having a good weekend. It is, I guess it's like 4th of July weekend still. Are people still celebrating? Did anybody celebrate? I didn't do anything. I was like, I'm determined to not go anywhere except for like my weekly. I do my grocery order on the weekend, and I was like, I'll do my grocery order when I usually do it, but I'm not going to. Like, my partner and I have been bowling the last few weeks, like on and off for the last month or two. We've been going bowling, and it is fun, but I was like, no. So we kind of had tenuous plans. We were like, oh yeah, we should go bowling, and then we were like, oh no, it's actually going to be July 4th weekend, so let's not. A shower bench. Ooh, okay. I feel like that would take up too much space, because like in a normal American bathtub situation in a rental, there's not a whole lot of space, and I do want to stand up sometimes during the shower. So I feel like if it was a bench, I would not be able to stand up in any capacity. But I can see that being nice if you had like a way bigger shower. Got some thunderstorm heavy rain in North Texas earlier this morning. Oh gosh. My first reaction to that is like, yay, rain. I love rain and love thunderstorms and stuff. But then there's this news about these girls at camp in Texas that we haven't it's really fresh news, so it's like I haven't even had time to process it yet. And some of you might not even know what it is. There was a flash flood, and some young girls. I don't know what the ages are actually. I don't know if they're like teenagers or maybe like preteens age, but some children are missing from a flash flood. And like it hits pretty hard for me because I actually know someone who lost both of his children in the big flood event last year I want to say it was in like the Carolinas area. So yeah, man, it's like the time of climate change related personal impact has arrived for sure. Like, it's no longer, oh, it's gonna happen in the future. Like, the impact that it has on human lives has begun now, and it's like really fucked up. And I don't really have to tell any of you how fucked up it is that like we are defunding the National Weather Service and NOAA and yeah, Hurricane Helene last year. And like those warning systems could have prevented this. Like we're seeing in real time, like a preventable human impact that has resulted in this harm. And dude, I just fucking read The Bridge to Terabithia too. So it's a very real, visceral, emotional thing. Like, if, obviously you think of it in the abstract as like, oh, this is a news item, or like, oh, 20 people are missing or whatever. And it's like, you do have to kind of consider the personal aspect of that as well, that it is not just abstractly like a certain number of people are going to die in a flood every year. It's like some person's kid just drowned, like it's fucking not good. Nikki says the usual suspects are blaming chemicals in the air and calling it fake weather. These are GOP MAGA politicians. Really? I haven't really seen a lot of discussion about this. I'm like trying and not exactly succeeding, but still constantly trying to minimize the amount of time I spend on social media lately. And that means consequently like less time taking in the news. But yeah, I guess I'm curious what people are saying about all that. I'm fucking... Oh, I guess I sometimes get stuff retweeted onto my timeline on Blue Sky that's like, here's what a Republican said. And what's crazy too is that this is not going to stay in the news for very long. Like, that's one of the frustrating things too about everything that's happening is like fucking a Minnesota lawmaker was shot and killed. She was assassinated, and we're just like, yep, now there's another thing. Now it's Alligator Alcatraz, Alligator Auschwitz. That's like the new thing in the news. And I mean, literally, I've seen the post from Star Wars Andor going around. It's like the oppressors have a tendency to throw a lot of atrocities out all at once. And it results in like, scrambling to respond or getting overwhelmed. And, it's easy for them to avoid accountability for one thing by just doing another fucked up thing. Ooh. Fesh says people were being awful on social media and rejoicing in children dying because Texas is a red state. Blue MAGA is just as bad. Wow. I saw people talking about that, but I'm like, I really hope that it was only a small number of people. Although, like, I don't know, man. People are so messed up about red states. Like, I'm sure I've been guilty of similar in the past. I'm not going to try to say that I'm perfect. But there is this tendency to be like, well, whatever, we'll just separate out. And it's like, we can't just separate out. There has to be a pathway to get people out of those places. Yeah, and that even is giving up on the idea of making those places better, where there are people who like live in Texas and don't want to leave Texas and they want to make Texas better. And like, can we support them in that effort and say like, yes, people from Texas, a lot of people from Texas anyway, are good people who are smart and make good decisions. Yeah, there are more blue voters in Texas than in New York. Like, it's a high population state and it's being choked out by gerrymandering and everything. Like, it's not like every single person in the South is a bad person or every single person in Kansas is a bad person. And I saw a post recently that was like, the way that y'all talk about people in red states and like this idea that they're just unilaterally bad is really indicative or suggestive about how you think about foreign nations as well. That it's really easy for you to just turn that part of your brain off that's like empathetic or considers the fact that like, we live in a country where a lot of us feel like we were screwed in the election. And so like, how can you say that another country who may also have a large portion of the population feeling like they got screwed in the election and they're being led by people who they don't feel represent their interests, like, how can we just say like, oh, everybody in that country is bad and deserves this? I mean, we even say this about our own country to an extent. I see people constantly saying things like, oh, fuck around, find out, fuck around, find out, regarding this present situation. And it's one thing when it is directed at Republicans, but it kind of feels like it's also directed at people who like abstained from voting, for example, or who voted third party. Like it's very blaming. It's very like, you did something, haha, you did it. How, like, you are the reason for all of this. And it just really, I think, is a misapplication of culpability because, yeah, so even if we vote Republican, we live in a country where public education has been underfunded. We do not teach people how to think critically. We teach them how to uncritically accept authority. As a matter of fact, we have a highly religious population, which also instills the same values and, you know, creates some kinds of magical thinking and like this idea that even if things are unfair now, they'll be squared by, you know, the great big guy with the balancing scales who is going to make sure everything is okay in the end, you know? And then the news is filled with misinformation, and stupid people have access to huge platforms that they never used to have, and they're a form of propaganda. Thinking of Joe Rogan and Andrew Tate, obviously. So it's like, to an extent, how much are any of those people responsible? And that's why I'm gonna make a video about Dedra Miro. I do want to do that, actually. I do. Oh, man. I do not look forward to what the hurricane season is going to look like. No, for sure, yeah. And, like, I live in a place where we have fire season. It's like the dry season it's July now. Like, it's dry season. So we're going to see wildfires kicking up all across the West Coast. There's going to be hurricanes in the south and the east. We are definitely going to be talking about Fascist Mommy. Yes, yes. I am going to get my notes together tonight and probably tomorrow morning as well. And we're recording our first episode talking about season 2 of Star Wars Andor tomorrow, which I'm very excited about. But I just keep thinking about, like, I want to make a video about Dedra Miro because I think that she is a really, really, really well-rounded, well-written character. And I love her. But yes, if you want to check out that podcast, there's a link that Gayfesh put down in there. The Many Worlds Hypothesis, where Gayfesh, Demon Mama, and myself talk about Star Wars and Star Trek and Marvel. So yeah, there's lots to catch up on. Our Star Trek movie episodes are still in the process of coming out. Yeah. Supervisor Dedra Miro, who, yeah, works at the ISB in Star Wars Andor. She's pretty fucking cool. By the way, if you're one of those people who's like, ew, I don't like watching TV shows, like, until they're finished because you never know when Netflix is just going to cancel something or whatever, there is no more Andor. Did you see Star Wars Rogue One? Did you like Cassian Andor? Then you should watch Andor because it's over. 2 seasons, like 12 episodes each. Boom, done. Yeah, Demon Mama's alive. Yeah. And she does a podcast with Gayfesh and myself. Ancom Jane says, I put all of the blame on Dems. Like, I'm assuming you mean establishment Dems. Yeah, I was really disappointed to see that the big bill passed. I kind of thought that it wouldn't. I don't know why I thought that. I was like, man, it seems like it's going to be kind of difficult for them to do that. Although I guess on some level, I always had it in, I was like, yeah, I don't know. I guess it was one of those things where I'm like, it's probably going to happen, but I want to maintain some level of like plausible, maybe it couldn't, maybe it might not, but I don't know. It's like not surprising, but it is a bummer. And like the worst aspects of it aren't going to kick in for another like 2 or 3 years. So that'll be fun. Will she return to YouTube? I don't know. I haven't asked. Probably not. I mean, it's been like I think this happened with Doe as well, where Doe like had been a streamer and a content creator to some extent, and like actually, I mean, it was in the partner program with Twitch, which is kind of difficult to get into, I think. But anyway, yeah. So after the whole blow up with Riley Grace Rochong, Doe just kind of stopped creating content and like didn't make an announcement about it, and it still posts on Blue Sky and stuff, but it's not, and like I think it still runs its Discord server, so it still has like a community hub, but is no longer making content. And I think that maybe after what happened, Demon Mama is like, I'm just fucking done dealing with this. Like, when you get to a place in your career where like you're tired of talking about politics, because Demon Mama was on the same path that I was. And like, again, I haven't asked her about any of this. This is me looking at only everything that has happened in public. Like, even if I knew anything privately, obviously that would not be cool for me to share. But so anyway, just as an analyzing what happened in public kind of critique to the situation. As a creator, when you're talking about your own civil rights struggle, it's like really hard, you know? And we try to like have fun with the content as well, where I'm like, okay, I will talk about politics, but only in the context of media. So I'm talking about trans movies, and I'll talk about the trans rights struggle in the context of this movie. But I can't sit here and be like, did you hear about the latest thing that happened this week? Or at least not like the same way that I used to. We still talk about some stuff on like Takis. You know, we talk about the newest bullshit that's going on. And I still argue with people, and I still hone my arguments on this topic. But it's just like a level of separation that there has to be. And so Demon Mama was kind of in the middle of that process that I'm in the middle of, which is to say that she was like, okay, I need to start backing away from political content. And then, oh, there's drama in the community, and like my friends are talking shit on me, or like there's a friend blow up that is also a professional kind of blow up, because you're like friends with a bunch of your peers in the job space that we all are in as like streamers and YouTubers. But she started doing more fun videos talking about media. Like I think she did a video about Breaking Bad and about like toxic masculinity in it. Like, you know, she started doing what I'm doing and talking about media, or making videos just for her fans instead of making videos about drama or politics, right? And then in the midst of her, you know, taking more and more time off of streaming and trying to post more fun shit and not like stressful stuff, there's like a whole bunch of bullshit all of a sudden, like spurious accusations, pedo-jacketing queer women, queer, like, you know, I don't know if, I guess Fawn is like a trans femme critter. I don't know, whatever. Anyway, you know what I mean? Like queer people and the accusations that people tend to level against them, and like the fact that the burden of proof seems really low. Like people are willing to accept a pretty low quality evidence to decide that someone is, to decide that a queer person, especially and a trans person, is like doing something harmful. And for that to hit all of the people immediately around you as well, it's like, as for us, as our job being like, yeah, let's talk about topical things, let's talk about the news, let's feed on the parasocial relationship and have a community, and all this kind of shit, for that to suddenly become, people are doxing your family, and like people are coming after you personally and are threatening to publicize your location, which means that you have to be concerned about people showing up where you live. Like, that is not a proportional risk for your job. It's like, okay, we all know that like terrorist attacks happen on Planned Parenthoods, right? It's actually like one of the most common forms of terror attack in this country. I think the most popular, like the most common form of terror attack in this country is people sending like fake anthrax or shitty little homemade bombs, or even just calling in bomb threats to Planned Parenthood, right? So if you work at a Planned Parenthood, I think it's part of their training where you have to be prepared for how to deal with terror threats. And it's just not, it's not proportional for them. It is a known quantity for them, but it is not proportional for you as like a trans person who's just trying to make it in the world, being a public facing person and having that be the risk, you know? Like it's not reasonable or proportional. Thank you, Quantum Chaos, for the $15. Says, it's very hot here, so I'm going swimming, but I'll be back, hopefully. Also, you did real good on the hang up. It was a good show. Here's money for things. Thank you. Thank you. Oh, yeah, this is our first stream since the hang up, so I will talk about that today as well. But thank you very much for the donation. I hope you have a good time swimming. If you're just coming in, I see there's 38 people in here and only like 20-something likes. So if you would like to help me immediately and for free, you can click the like button on the YouTube page. It literally immediately tells YouTube that it should show this stream to more people, which obviously is a benefit to me. So, and like, of course, donations are very nice. If we get to the donations, I guess what I'll have to do is I'll have to take off this, I'll have to take off this little swimming top. That's just my skin under there. I'll have to take off my little swimming top and give you the flex. Do it like the stream. Yeah. If you miss Demon Mama, she's not completely gone. We do have a podcast where she gives her media takes, which sometimes make absolutely no sense to me. And that's kind of the fun of it. We have a good vibe. People say they like the vibes of the three of us chatting. So go to the Gayfesh YouTube channel. Yes, the internet does chew up trans women and spit them out. Yep. I would love more trans YouTubers to spend more time talking about joy and community. Yeah. I maybe just need to like spend more time actually doing community. Okay, so I do think that I want to spend more time doing community oriented things. You know, so long as I'm still doing this as my job, I want to do that. So I actually just took a poll in the Discord for like, if let's do a Discord like gaming night or movie night or something, maybe only once or twice a month at first. And I was like, what day of the week should we do this? It's a little bit of a bummer that you all picked Friday, because Friday is a day where, and it's never planned, but my partner and I end up hanging out on a Friday night. So, but if it's only like once or twice a month, it's whatever. And I don't have to be there every single time, but I want to do community nights. Have there been updates about the charity job? Did not get it, but that's okay. That's why I'm like, okay, let me just focus on doing my current job better because I do feel like I might actually be a little bit out of my depth if I were to start working at a nonprofit, and like my health has been kicking my ass a lot lately, and I don't want to get a job and then be like, LOL, I'm too disabled to work here. Anyway, Thursday and Friday would be good. Okay, cool. Thank you, Sanji, for a tier 1 subscription to the website. I appreciate that very much. I hope that you enjoy access to the cute emojis and the ability to set your pronouns, which you can do without a sub, actually. But the cool emojis, some of them are subscriber only. But thank you. So that means we've gotten $20 in donations today. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Buff Mommy. Interesting swimwear. So this is actually not even a swim top. It's just like a bralette that I think is cute. But I guess, and this thing, I don't actually know if it's literally a swim cover. That's just what I use it for most of the time. I built a whole ass animated Star Trek touchscreen interface overlay. Ooh, that's fun. I watched your TV Glow review a couple days ago. It was good. I loved it. Or I liked it. Most of the reviews that came out about it did so at a time I was trying to avoid spoilers, so your review is one of the few I've actually seen. Nice. Yeah, I was gonna at least touch base about that today. Okay, so here's the couple things that I wanted to talk about today, I guess, is I was on the hang up this past week. There was something that someone put in the stream recommendations that we did talk about on Takis this past week. So we can touch base on Takis as well. And then I wanted to talk about my I Saw the TV Glow review, not in like extensive detail, but I do think if the channel gets much more attention on that kind of stuff, then it might make sense to do kind of like what other creators do. They will do like a post-mortem stream on it. But yeah. Would you consider reviewing cartoons like Over the Garden Wall? I am not familiar with that. I'm not opposed to talking about cartoons. I just don't have any like on deck right now. I have my long lists of recommendations that you guys have made, and I probably have more that I didn't end up writing down just from like YouTube comments and stuff. But yeah. Ugh, somebody saying like, don't be afraid to start a second channel. I'm like, I know. If I make a video about Dead Ramiro, that's definitely going to have to go on a second channel. It's just not going to work. Love your Pamela Anderson early 90s swim model hair. Yeah, I'm just waiting for it to dry and then I can scrunch it and hopefully have like cute curls. Heathen Granny says we need to cut all ties with Israel if we are ever going to progress in basic human rights in this country. I don't know if we're ever going to progress in basic human rights in this country. Like in the sense that the country, like I don't like if the country stops existing, then maybe. Hypothetically speaking. I'm still waiting to see who has the courage to review the trans representation in the 1970s X-rated Muppet movie Let My Puppets Come. Yes, this is a hardcore Muppet smut flick. Well, I do know, like, Jimmy has joked before about posting, or was it Jimmy? Or I don't know, maybe I just am thinking about it because I was like, haha, wouldn't it be funny if we did this with the line? But like, if you post your just sexual related educational content on Pornhub or something. Is it Doomer? Okay, so what I said was I don't know that civil rights are going to advance in this country so long as this country exists. But that's not Doomer if you know that I believe that the country is going to fall apart. Like, the data suggests that the country will not be able to sustain itself in the current way that it exists. And I honestly think that giant swaths of land under one central government are like managed really poorly. So, that's like hopeful. That means that like within my lifetime, we could see meaningful change on civil rights because the economy will collapse. Viren says, unless the U.S. does more than fetishize its history of rising up against what it saw as tyranny, I don't think we have a way to escape becoming a straight oligarchy rather than a de facto one. Yeah. It's fascinating, and I'm giving up on making any more specific predictions. Everything that happens, I'm like, wow. I didn't know that was going to happen. And it just keeps happening where I'm like, wow, that's bad. And it's just not really evocative. It's not really evoking an emotional reaction in the same way. Because it's just like, wow, I just didn't see that one coming. but I'm not surprised. It's like, yeah. It's a whole lot of like, wow, I didn't see that one coming, but I'm not surprised. Just all the time. Sex ed from trans people for trans people is important. At my first T for T Pride production, we had an educational presentation on navigating life, love, and relationships when you or someone you love is positive. It's important to learn from one another. Yes, that's true. And it is like, if we get to a point where YouTube will not host just anything related to transness, that it's like, okay, we might have to move all of the content over to Pornhub or something. Pornhub, the last bastion of internet content creation for trans people. Okay, so I guess we can talk about the hang up a little bit. So I actually I've gotten a lot of new subscribers this week, and I don't know if it is it's my video didn't perform super well this week. So I don't think it's from that. I actually think that a lot of my new subscribers this week are from the hang up, where a lot of people had never ever seen me before, and from Takis, where this week I actually plugged my content, and I usually don't. But yeah, the hang up was fun. I went on with Matt Dillahunty, and I know that people have been kind of complaining about Matt Dillahunty in the past few years, or, you know, over the course of his entire career on Atheist Experience and everything, that he tends to get real spicy real fast. And he's trying this new thing recently where he's like, I'm trying to be zen. I'm trying to, like, not get really mad really fast. And he made it most of the way through the show before he got big mad. So that was fun. And people seemed to enjoy the show. I'm sure I will go on again in the future. It's probably not going to be one of those, like, super often things, but it was a good start for me, feeling like, okay, I would like to be on some of the other shows sometimes. And then, of course, I'm going to be on Takis again this week with Arden, so that's going to be a good time. It was so weird how many... Okay, so if you guys are not familiar, which some of you might not be familiar, so we do a call-in show. Mine is on Thursdays, the Transatlantic call-in show. We talk about trans issues. And then most of the other shows on our network talk about religion in some capacity. So do we, a little bit. Or at least we hit the trans issue from the skeptic atheist perspective. So on The Hang Up, like, you know, of course, Matt famously is a big anti-theist who yells at theists. That's like his shtick. So that's what we ended up talking about. And like the unhinged kind of things that people call about. The unhinged kind of like, what did that dude say? Dude said that like we are eternal beings. We had a caller who his call note just said like, I believe we are eternal beings or some shit like that. And then what he went into was that like, he believes that people can channel, he thinks angels are real, and that sometimes people can channel the telepathic messages of angels or aliens, he also said. So I was like, okay, let's talk about this aliens thing. And it was all based on like, basically what I would guess is like some things that a person who had a break with reality was saying. And I was like, so confused. It was one of the strangest calls I've taken in forever, because we don't do those kind of calls on Takis. We exclusively talk about trans issues. So like at the very minimum, the trans issues callers, even people who are opposed to us, they typically are more grounded in reality, or at least closer to reality. You know, where even if they believe in a conspiracy, which we don't really get many callers like this, so the extreme ones who believe in like a conspiracy of like trans people recruiting and like grooming children to become sexually available to them as adult trans people. People say insane shit like that, but at least most of that is still grounded in like what we understand about the possibilities for human behavior. Whereas being like, yeah, some human beings telepathically receive the messages of aliens. Like, bro, I don't even know what to do in that. I don't know what to do in that situation. That was a crazy call. Is this my internet or the stream is lagging? It could be my internet. I don't know. It seems okay on my end, but you never know. I understand Matt's disposition more when I remember he has been taking the same questions for like 30 years. And as a Southerner, I know he knows a backhanded Southernism when he sees one. Yeah, yeah. So he's been doing this for a long time. He sees the patterns. He knows what people are doing. And yeah, he can be kind of reactive, but he's trying to be more patient. I was like, I didn't ask, but I'm like, I wonder if someone told him he needed to lower his blood pressure. Shout out to Forrest's video on biological sex. Really appreciated that, TBH. As a cis guy, I really like Forrest. I would love to do a video with Forrest. I just think he's real smart, and I also like that he's kind of an asshole to people who are, because someone will call in, and actually we did have a caller on Takis this week who was talking to us about something that Forrest had done, and basically he was upset because somebody called in to talk about a God question, but they gave their pronouns as like attack helicopter, and Forrest completely ignored their God question and instead was like, let's talk about your refusal to give your pronouns. And he does that all the time. I've seen him do it several times where he's like, oh, you called in to talk about this other thing, but I'm so distracted by the fact that you gave us stupid pronouns or refused to give pronouns that instead I'm going to come after you about that. I love him. I love him so much. Forrest also an anarchist? Really? Is he really? That's exciting to me. You know what really helps reactive people is telling them they're being emotional. Really brings the temperature down. It's true. Thank you, Anson. I think I got this at like a thrift store or something. It's just a little, cute little. I use it as like a swim top cover, or specifically with this bralette. I don't know why. I just like this look. Forrest just absolutely does not respect any caller who doesn't respect the pronoun question. He's like, we are not going to get to your question. We are going to tear you a new one for this. Yeah, I love him. I would be delighted to do a show with him sometime. I don't think he knows who I am at all, except maybe vaguely having heard my name or seen me in the private Discord that we have for the creators. Mosh says, it's been a while since I've heard you identify with a political label. I think, are you anarcho-syndicalist, or am I pulling that out of my ass? So I do this with all forms of label. I shirk specific labels for preference for like loose labels that I can then explain the specifics of. I have heard of anarcho-syndicalism, and from what I have read in the Conquest of Bread, which I haven't finished yet, but I've read a few chapters, I think, yes, anarcho-syndicalism, but I mean, broadly, I don't know, like, I always just refer to myself as a leftist really broadly, and then we can talk about the specifics of like what we think could work. Like, does the idea of socialism require a large overarching governance system? Because maybe I don't like that. Communism, like the idea that we will live in like small interconnected communities that have democratically appointed leadership, like that is a lifestyle that I think could be beneficial. So like, am I a communist? Kind of, I guess. I mean, if that's how we're defining the terms too. I feel like this is really tricky to talk about in this day and age. Like, if somebody were to ask me, are you a socialist? I would be like, what do you mean by that? And then I would probably talk about specific things. because like obviously I think you have to be careful in a time where people have been talking about bringing back HUAC, of like, being too willing to commit to a particular political label. So I think like, yeah, if socialist means like we have roads that were paid for by taxes, then yes, like we already have that in this society. Am I a socialist in that I believe like if we have a functional overarching government, that government should provide universal basic income and universal healthcare? Yes, I'm a socialist. Um, Anarchism, the idea that like hierarchy should be justified, like authority should be justified, and it should be necessary. If it isn't completely and entirely necessary, we shouldn't have an authority arbitrarily. So yes, anarchism, sure. I forget what the syndicalism part means, so it would be hard for me to talk about that specific label. But like, yeah, like a little bit of all of these things, probably. I would say I'm definitely not an anarcho-capitalist. I think that's a nightmare situation. um, but other than that, I don't really know. I don't believe socialism requires centralization. Okay. The left has been fighting over this for 140 years. Yeah, I'm like, yeah, whatever. Like, let's come up with a solution together. Like, let's come to a compromise and understand that in a good compromise, someone and ideally everyone is a little bit unhappy with the situation. Like let's just understand that nobody is going to get 100% of what they want. Let's like be realistic about what we need for the next 500 years of human prosper and well-being. Prosper and what? Prosperity. Jesus, I couldn't think of the word prosperity. I was like prosperous, and then I was like, that's not the right word. What do we need for the next 500 years of human prosperity? And let's just fucking do that. Hi, Mr. Baby. Okay, you're weird. Mm-hmm. Syndicate means basically a large group association. Okay. I broadly identify as leftist as well, but I feel called to reading more political theory. Yeah, I have a couple books. Yeah, I bought The Conquest of Bread because I was interested in reading that one. I actually bought a copy of the Communist Manifesto that I just because it's so tiny. I just thought it was an adorable little book. So I bought one of those. I guess you call it like a pocket Das Kapital or whatever. Fucking, it's not Das Kapital. It's the Communist Manifesto, but you know what I mean. So I'm interested in reading more theory. I've decided my cat needs a drag name if y'all want to help. She's a white and gray rag doll. Ooh, okay, so Moshe wants some help giving their cat a drag name. The cat is female and is a white and gray rag doll. Has anyone read Debt by David Grave? No. The problem is that so far no attempt at communism has ever worked. I was in quote communist Hungary in 1970 and 73. It was dreadful. I somewhat take issue with that accusation because I think that pretty much I'm gonna go ahead out on a limb and say almost every single time we've had a governance system in this planet that purports to be communist, it's actually a dictatorship that's just calling itself communism. I don't know the specifics of what was going on in Hungary in 1970, but that's kind of the impression that I've gotten from like the Chinese Communist Party and the USSR. It just seems like there have been times where governments say that they're socialist or they say that they're communist, but then they just do like a lot of things that don't at all fit into how I understand those political systems to work. So I don't think it's even possible to say, well, we've tried communism and it hasn't worked. The syndicalist part means that work groups should form syndicates of trade unions that society gets organized around. Oh, that workers groups should form syndicates of trade unions that society gets organized around. Yeah, I mean, I don't know that I need society to be, well, okay, trade unions that society gets organized around. I guess, see, what that reminds me of is like, fucking mercantilism, where it's like, yeah, if we have guilds like that, you know, throwing back to like the historical context, like, oh, okay, like, oh, there's the Weavers Guild and the Fisherman's Guild or whatever, the Blacksmiths Guild. I guess I would be concerned that that would be prone to a lot of the same kind of capitalistic things where it's like the people who have the most money have the most influence. So we would have to just be thoughtful about how we organize that. As far as like, yeah, are we going to organize the hierarchies in our society around trades? Okay, Mr. Baby, you're weird. Dragon Ball GT summarized. Wow, that's funny. China is literally just an inverse of the United States of America. I don't really know a lot about China, except that I would never want to live there. Like, based on the overarching vibes, not a huge fan. Oh my god, babes, hail hydrate. Yeah, so the hang up was fun this week. So one thing that I do want to mention that we talked about on the hang up, which is, so the hang up always starts with Matt doing like a 10 to 15 minute monologue, and then the co-host is just sitting there like listening to his monologue and watching. And the thing that he was talking about was like that I think Texas just passed a law that would make it mandatory to post the 10 Commandments in every classroom in a public school. And so having the 10 Commandments, so the 10 Commandments, first of all, like the first 4 or 5 commandments are like something about you need to listen to God, you know, you can't have idols, whatever stupid shit. But then there's like, don't murder people and like, don't covet your in a classroom of 5 or 6 year olds who are like kindergarten and first grade. And like, they can read by first grade usually. Like that's kind of, I mean, I could read before I even started school. I know that there's developmental delays all over the place now. And like parents aren't teaching their kids to read before they get to school. So there's a little bit of a delay. But I would say by the time you get to like age 6 and 7, so like first or second grade, they're definitely reading by that point. So for them to have a big banner in their classroom, in every classroom, that says, "Thou shalt not murder," like these are children who maybe don't even know what death is. And I think that this is one of those areas where we could use the conservative arguments to throw them off. That, like, you know, they say things like, oh, it's not appropriate for you to teach children that young about gay people, you know? Like, oh, it's too tender an age. Or they'll say, well, you should let the parents teach them that. You know, you need to let the parents get involved. How does the same argument not apply here? Like, my 6-year-old is now coming home asking what it means to covet his neighbor's wife. Like, now I have to explain what adultery is to my 6-year-old? Or like, my kid didn't even know what death was. Because parents sometimes want to wait to talk about death and like the finality of it all. And if it doesn't come up naturally for a kid, like, if a pet doesn't die or a grandparent doesn't die, then they'll learn about it through like movies or something. And so what you're saying is like, oh, my 6-year-old is now going to ask me what murder is. How is that age appropriate? It's real fucked up. Write it in Latin. In fact, you could just write any old nonsense and tell them it's the Ten Commandments written in Latin. Lorem ipsum, yeah. What's up, Naomi? Welcome to the YouTube chat. Yeah, those kindergartners are going to be coveting their neighbors' wives already. That's the world we live in now. Yeah, 6-year-old coveting neighbor's wife. And then there was something we were talking about on Takis that someone also posted something in our stream recommendations channel. Mira, the Mira Dimension, posted, yeah, this caught my eye when we were doing the poll for this week. So I also wanted to see, we'll talk about it on Takis this upcoming week as well, but I'm really curious if, like, what people were saying in the comments of our... So on the line, we do a poll every week when we're about to do Takis because it helps get clicks on the actual live stream itself. I don't know how that works exactly. I've tried it a little bit, and I think it does help. Although I keep forgetting. It's like, I should technically put up a poll or a community post of some kind when I go live or before I go live, because then people will see the community tab post and then they'll see that I'm live and they can click in. So, but we do and it gives us a chance to talk about whatever the news is of the week. So our most recent one we did, is it a violation of the First Amendment to compel trans teachers to misgender themselves in order to keep their jobs? And the reason we were talking about that is because of this Aaron and the Morning article where the 11th Circuit, which handles Florida, so Florida teacher who's trans has now been told by an appeals court that she must refer to herself with he, him pronouns in the classroom, which I also think is introducing confusion because if she passes, or, if the kids don't question it, that she just looks like a woman, then her being obligated to call herself a man is actually like causing more of a disruption in the learning environment. Yeah, like the Florida law states that it is false to associate to a person a pronoun that does not correspond to that person's sex, and bars teachers from using pronouns or honorifics if such preferred personal title or pronouns do not correspond to that person's sex. So this is like the don't say gay bill or the don't say trans bill, basically. And that's how it's playing out in effect. So yeah, like, and the reason why we phrased the question in that particular way is that, like, this is how Jordan Peterson got famous. Jordan Peterson being like, you can't compel my speech. This is, obviously he's in Canada, or was in Canada at the time, so you can't make, like, literally the First Amendment argument, but basically it's the First Amendment argument that, like, you can't force me to say something, even though obviously the law at the time, if you don't remember back in the day, it was an employment protection against harassment. So if you have a coworker whose name is William and you keep calling him Billy and he keeps telling you not to, and you keep doing it, that's workplace harassment. So it was just a law that expanded workplace harassment protections to include that same situation, but if the person specifically is trans and you're using the wrong pronouns. If you're persistently using the wrong name or pronouns for a person in the workplace, that is it's like a violation of your right to a chill workplace or whatever. So yeah, is it not then compelled speech to compel a trans person or a trans teacher or anyone around them, for the matter of fact, like if any of their coworkers probably are also not allowed to use their correct pronouns, how is that not a violation of the First Amendment? I think it is, but the fucking 11th Circuit Court of Appeals just decided, like, nope. And like Aaron's subheader here says, like, this is a clear case of the state barring disfavored speech, the dissent said. So yeah, I mean, it's fucking... Yeah, why be a teacher if you're not allowed to teach? That's a great question. And this creates a situation where it's like, yeah, you basically... They probably don't want her in the teaching role at all. Like, if we're being clear, they do not want her in the teaching role at all. Yeah, it's like, why is this inappropriate for kids? It just is fascist. You know, like at a certain point, there's not much else that you can add. But the reason why I wanted to bring it up today is because I was curious what our commenters said. See if there's anything interesting in here. Someone points out that this will lead to more understaffing in schools. Sure, yeah. This person says this has the same vibe as compelling a gay teacher to claim that they have a wife/husband rather than their actual partner of the same gender. Totally. What is the vote on this? Okay, so 93% said yes, that would be a violation of the First Amendment. 7% said no. Sometimes these are more close. Like, oh my God. So the last one we had last week was, do you think more trans people should run for public office? Or what was it? What is it? Do we need more trans people running for office? And the reason why we did that is because Josie Caballero is running for office in Montgomery County where she lives. So like, she is running for office, and what we really wanted to do was springboard into talking about her campaign. Because obviously we use these questions as a way to be like, oh yeah, let's talk about this issue, or let's take a moment to get on our soapbox. So 21% of people said, no, we don't need more trans people running for office. The audience over there is so pedantic. It's a whole lot of people being like, if they're qualified and trans, then great. Like, we need more qualified and competent people in politics. If they're trans, then whatever, nobody cares. But it's like, oh my God, dude. So stupid. It's like, and that kind of implies that trans people are by default not competent. To conservatives, that's a win-win. They get to be cruel to a trans person and make teaching a less attractive profession at the same time. Totally. Yeah. So yeah, I guess because people were so fucking annoying about that one question, I was curious what people had to say about the, oh, shout out to Arden for posting the article at the top of the comments as well, to give a little bit of context. Someone sarcastically says, oh good, I was hoping they'd get rid of the teachers. Clearly one of our country's biggest problems is we have too many teachers. Yeah. This person says, state-compelled speech is a violation of state-protected freedom of speech. Imagine if someone suggested that a Christian should lie about their religion in order to keep their teaching job. People would be in an uproar, and religion is a personal choice, unlike gender identity. So yeah, people in the comments are a lot more normal on this one. I can't hear/read that if they're qualified and not immediately think conservative or lib. Right, that was something that I thought too, is like, if your response in that situation is like, well, if they're qualified, I'm like, who? Those people strike me as the kind of people who would say Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez was not qualified because she was a bartender before entering public office. It's like, what do you mean qualified? And also, the idea that, people who are qualified should be making the decisions. That's how we end up with panels full of white male doctors making decisions about abortion. Because, quote unquote, you need experts on the matter. And so who is considered an expert? Who is considered qualified? Who is considered competent in that role? Like, this is how we end up in the situation. Like, what does it mean to be qualified for public office? I feel like so long as we have an overarching government, we should have like, I feel like we should do something that's like proportionally, we should have roughly the same, well, I don't know, maybe not proportional to population, but like, I'm thinking of doctors, right? We should have doctors who are actual practicing doctors with medical degrees serve in public office. And I think we should have like a proportional percentage, maybe, of like either proportional percentage to the population. Like, here's how many doctors there are in the population. We need at least a proportional number of doctors making the decisions on healthcare. Like, appoint those guys all to the actual committee that makes decisions about medical shit. Or like, excuse me, maybe like regardless of how many doctors there are, if we have a committee that makes medical decisions, whatever the size of that committee is, we need to fill at least that many seats with doctors in the entire representative republic system, you know? It's like, I don't disagree with the idea that we should have qualified individuals making decisions. I just don't think that we need like, and like, if we're making decisions about like welfare or SNAP benefits, the people who are on that committee should be people who have been on SNAP or benefits in the last 5 years, right? So like, I mean, you know, when I'm thinking of who's qualified, obviously the doctors thing is a really easy argument to make, but like, I think AOC is uniquely qualified to be in office because of her experience as a working class individual. And it's like, for you to know what are the real consequences or real, you know, impacts of whatever it is that you're doing in the government. So yeah, people who've been on SNAP before should probably have a say in the decision making around SNAP because they have a personal experience that they can bring that level of expertise to the role. Yeah. And like, so for trans people is like, I do think that any minority group is uniquely qualified to explain how that's going to impact them. Now, obviously, I say that, and then we have a lawmaker, Sarah McBride, who is trans and also is the fucking worst. That's why we need like more than one of them. You know, we can't just have one person representing the entire trans community, even if that's proportional. Like, let's just say that one trans person being in office is like proportional to the number of trans people in the United States population. Like, you might need more than one just to make sure that you don't end up with like one person's bad take. You need at least two people to weigh in on an issue. And like, who's more qualified to talk about the impact of losing medical care for trans people than a trans person who can say, actually, this for a lot of people is life-saving care. Here's how it impacted me personally. You know, more working class people in politics, please. Fucking true. I wish I could vote in Illinois just so I can vote for Katabu Ghazale. I know no one asked, but here we are. I love her. I think she's great. I haven't donated to her campaign, but I'm following her campaign closely, and I'm really interested in it. And it's maybe the closest I've ever been, or the closest I've been in over a decade to thinking about running for public office myself. Like, the idea that it's like, you know, the fact that you can be doing good in your community before you even win the election, or like accepting that you might not win the election, but that you still did good in your community. Like, I am a big fan. Kitty, hello. Me and Bab have been in attendance today. I quiet. It's okay. It's okay. You got to focus on the Bab sometimes. The idea of being qualified is a nebulous concept for a democratically elected politician. I have things I would want one to know and be able to do, but I'm qualified for the job is not a compelling pitch for a literal popularity contest. Oh, fucking true. Yeah. Yeah. Someone being qualified or not is nebulous in the sense that that's not necessarily what gets someone to the seat. Sure. Yeah. Like you, this is the issue with democracy is like, you don't even have to be good at your job or you don't even have to be qualified. As long as you say the right things, you know, if you lie your way into it, or if you are charismatic enough, those are the things that actually win elections, is being charismatic. It's not whether you're actually going to do a good job. It's entirely vibes based. It's entirely based on, like, who would they rather have a beer with. Shakespeare says we do actually need less qualified leftists to take on these roles. They are representatives. Most people are not qualified. The paradox of representation demands that we deserve poor representation too. I guess so, yeah. Shakespeare says, I love Minnesota State Representative Lee Finkel. I've gotten hugs from her at the gay bar. She's been amazing for our protections. Hell yeah. I feel the most noteworthy things about McBride will be her status and how she was treated rather than anything she specifically stood up for. I guess there's time for that to change, but we'll see. Yeah, I don't really think that much is going to change with that situation. I have a friend who literally said he likes RFK Jr. because he would have a beer with him. Ew. Ew. I can't imagine having a beer with that guy that didn't end up in his face and down the front of his shirt. Ew. I find it so frustrating that there's no requirement to make decisions about a female or trans person's body, but if I want to implement some kind of stupid check, then I'm the villain. Oh, you mean like, okay, so like people don't have to be qualified in any way to then police other people's bodies and autonomy. But if you suggest that we should have some kind of like check to make sure that our people who are making decisions are smart enough to make those decisions, then suddenly, yeah, I mean, I get it. Like, people in their ableism angle, like, I get it. Look at Trump. He's not even well qualified to run a company and was saved by the fictional show The Apprentice, presented as reality TV. A country is super not a company. Like, you can't fire your citizens, but he sure is trying. Yo, that's true. Whoever thought that business people would be the best to run a country? I mean, it's business people and lawyers. Like, whoever decided that lawyers are the best people to run the country? If I had a beer with RFK Jr., I would bring 3 bottles of hand sanitizer in case I have to touch anything he touched. Dude's probably a walking superbug. Isn't he the one who had literal brain worms? I would be scared to be in his presence. Terrifying. Lay? Oh my god. Are you fucking serious? I'm not reading that. It's not your fault, Shakespeare. I just think that it's like, if you have a name that is pronounced a specific way and it's been known to for like hundreds of years, and then suddenly people just like decide to pronounce that differently even though it has the same spelling, I'm like, yikes. It's really irritating to me. I don't know why. It reminds me of the white girl thing where it's like they take a name, they pronounce it the same, but they change the spelling. Like Ashley, but it's Leigh. Ashley. It's like, I find that very annoying. Not gonna lie, I'm low-key bought into the Trump syphilis theory. Oh, is it like the theory? What? I've never heard this before, but I'm assuming it's like he got syphilis at some point and has had brain damage from it, because syphilis causes brain damage, right? Kitty says, you want the laws to be nearly unintelligible to the general population, so they want lawyers that can write using all of the legal Latin speak. Same way the Catholic Church uses high chant Latin to hide their true intentions. Chinese government officials speak in Cantonese. It's a control tactic. Interesting. I mean, on the other hand, like, yeah, I kind of get like wanting lawyers to write laws. I had a government class in high school where each one of that teacher's classrooms, like, I mean, like, each cohort of students, because he had the same classroom all day, but each cohort of students, so each class had their own rules, because one of the exercises that he had us do at the beginning of the semester was he split the room into two groups, like Congress has two houses, and then we would have to write our rules list and send it back and forth until we agreed on it, in the same way that you do in the House of Representatives and the Senate. And it was a great exercise, and he was like, you have to be specific in your language, because, you know, if there's like no restriction on like eating in the classroom, like if you make a rule that just says you're allowed to eat in the classroom, well, what do we do if someone starts leaving their trash or their crumbs everywhere? Or if someone orders a pizza and it's really disruptive to the classroom, you know, like, so you have to have those caveats in there. Or like, you know, we will make it so that you can have food in the classroom, but if you leave crumbs, then we're going to create a crime and you'll be punished by having your right to have food in the classroom taken away, or the privilege of having food in the classroom taken away. So it's shit like that. Like, I kind of get it that it has to be somewhat tight. Any law, because of what it is like we are ordering our society around this construct. Like, I get it that you have to have it be relatively tight, not airtight per se, but pretty tight, so that there's no exceptions where you miss something that you meant to include. This is part of why all these anti-trans laws are so fucking stupid. Like the one in Kansas didn't even have a punishment. It just says like you can't use the bathroom publicly. So it's like, okay, well, is it trespassing? Am I just going to be arrested and then released? Like, there is no actual rule around it. It just says don't use the bathroom. It's like, okay, well, what happens if I do use the bathroom? The theory is that Trump is losing his marbles from long-term untreated syphilis because he lies about it to his doctors. There are a few photos of rashes on his hands and other pictures of hand makeup that might indicate that he has this. It's probably totally BS, but personally I do stand by it, if only because of how upset it probably makes him. I guess fair enough. I think that's an interesting theory. Trump's going to be older than Biden was if he finishes this term. He's just old. Sure, yeah. We need to start putting twinks and femme twinks in office. We must mobilize our most precious soldiers. Okay. Sounds fun. Kitty says, we should have a panel of lawyers and retired judges that go over law proposals so that they can make sure the law is written correctly. I know the pain of having not a lawyer write your law. Arizona Medical Marijuana Act failed to mention cannabis even once. Cannabis had been designated as a Class 1 narcotic in the 70s and separated from the plant marijuana. I spent 6 days in jail and 18 months on probation because of weasel DAs that wanted arrest numbers of, quote, addicts. Ooh, yeah, yeah, that's really fucking stupid. But yeah, I think that's how it works in France, actually. So here, I'm about to illuminate something for you. I know someone who's about to move to France, and this is one of the reasons why. In France, there is a committee that looks over a law before it is made into law. Like, so in our system, people can just pass laws, and then we go back and forth in the courts for forever, right? Somebody passes a law that's obviously unconstitutional, like, you know, this law in Florida that's compelling speech very obviously not fucking right. Very obviously a violation of our literal, the literal First Amendment. The number one, you tripped over the bar on number one. So they passed this law that's obviously in contention with the First Amendment. And now this court has said that it's okay, and this court has said that it's okay, and they're going to keep appealing until it gets to the Supreme Court. And probably the Supreme Court is, they're either going to leave in place a transphobic precedent from a lower court, or they are going to step in and basically say trans people do not have the First Amendment right to freedom of speech or freedom of expression. So, instead of having that system, imagine if when a law is proposed, there's a committee that goes over it in extensive detail, regardless of who proposed the law, regardless of who proposed it. They go over it and they say, oh, no, this right here, this is in violation of the First Amendment. And so you have to scrap that part or redo the entire law or something, but we're not even going to put it to a vote. It's literally not even going to go to a vote. And that's how it works in France, a civilized country. Like, it's crazy how much harm we will let happen when we're like, we worship the courts in this country. I mean, except right now when Trump he worships the courts when it pleases him, and he talks shit on the courts when they tell him he can't break the law. But we venerate the courts, like, in a way that genuinely, I thought that people were just being cheeky when people would refer to them as, like, priests. Who picks the members of the committee? Well, I mean, it's gonna have to be made up of, like, constitutional experts, basically. So it's like, and I'm willing to do a combination of things if need be, like, but, like, the job of those people is to be an expert in the Constitution and to be an expert in civil rights. And if a person can manage to be both an expert in civil rights and an expert in constitutional law and still voting against the interest of those things, I think we really need to have a system more like in the UK where they can take someone out of office who's fucking up and it's not on, like, a schedule. Because the way that we have it in this country, like, if you get elected, you can just run roughshod for 4 years, unmitigated. You can do literally anything you want in those 4 years. And then someone else has to come in and pick up the pieces. Like, I think we should have the ability to vote no confidence more often. So if we're like, yo, your entire job is to protect civil rights and you're doing it wrong, vote of no confidence. Why are you on the panel if you're going to disregard the entire concept? Like, if we actually followed the Constitution, it has a lot of good stuff in it. It has a lot of things that I'm like, yeah, if we would just do that, then that would be a good thing. Like, if we were just consistently applying the 14th Amendment, then yes, fucking obviously trans people are a discrete group who deserve extra scrutiny and protection under the law according to the 14th Amendment. So, like, if we were just doing it the way that it was supposed to be, but we have all these people who are just like, yeah, I actually don't give a shit about the Constitution. What I care about is my fucking yacht. So, judges can't take bribes except for Supreme Court justices because I want to go on a yacht ride. Later, Moshe. Haven't you ever worried that we might put too many bottoms in office? I don't know, man. What could be bad about having only bottoms in office? Don't you think that they would be, like, much more willing to yield in situations where they should? Most countries have pretty good constitutions on paper. Totally, yeah, like on paper. The two parties, tops and bottoms. I feel like almost anything that we do is going to make more sense than what we do now. So, like, yeah. I just I'd be willing to try the two-party system, tops versus bottoms. And the verse will have a difficult time getting in. We'll end up voting for bottoms when we vote. We'll like the verses are just going to have to join the bottoms party or they'll never get elected. What about the sides? Oh no, the poor sides. That's so sad. Ooh, so I was reading about something recently, which is so I've been trying to figure out what the fuck is going on with the YouTube algorithm. I think people have been complaining about it for like a while, at least 6 months. People have been like, dude, what the fuck is going on with my algorithm? Like, either it's viewers saying it's not showing me the right stuff anymore, or it's creators being like, dude, my channel is suffering right now and I do not know what I'm doing. And I think that they've recently like implemented some more AI stuff into the algorithm. So we're all kind of dealing with a rebalancing moment that is kind of ongoing, which they've done before. They're like, oh, you know, back in the day when they stopped prioritizing shorts, like short length content. And so, you know, animators, for example, just kind of got kicked off of the platform effectively because they started focusing more on like watch time and retention rather than clicks. And now they're just doing something else. So what I've read recently, and I'm passing this along to you, is that YouTube apparently is shifting toward they want to reward certain kinds of engagement rather than passive or inflammatory. So like if people are passively consuming your content, meaning they just watch it and they don't interact, like they don't click the like button or they don't comment or whatever, that stuff is not getting as much of a boost. And then you additionally have, oh shoot, my brain just did the Etch-a-Sketch thing. Shoot. Oh yeah, and apparently they want to deprioritize content that's just making people angry. So I guess if people click, I don't know actually how that works. If people are clicking the dislike button, maybe, I'm not really sure what the logic is behind that particular one. But what they want people to do now is they want people to like and leave long comments, like and to like when they respond to surveys afterward of like was that a good video for you, or you know, whatever. So we're pivoting, I guess, toward more interaction model. So I'm gonna have to start hitting on that more in the content. Like, yo, what's with that little XP that shows up now? Are you talking about like on a YouTube page? Because I'm not sure what you're talking about. Little EXP thing that shows up now. Shush. I'm just looking at a YouTube video and I don't know what you're talking about. Maybe I don't have it yet. But yeah. Oh, the top right of live chat. This is my donation goal, which I have there every single time for like 2 years. I'm trying to get to $100 each stream. Top right of live chat? Okay, hold on. I'm not looking at my own live chat either. Gotta mute it. Okay, an experience bar somewhere on the YouTube. The EXP thing is to prioritize engagement on most YouTube live streams. Oh, maybe I can't see it because I'm on my own account. But is it basically trying to get you to engage? It doesn't seem to be on this stream for me. It's usually in purple. Okay. So yeah, maybe they are, maybe it's kind of like Twitch, where Twitch has like, the longer you watch something, the more points you get, and then you can spend the points on stupid shit that doesn't matter. Maybe YouTube is trying something like that. to encourage you guys to interact more during streams. Because, yeah, basically that's what they're doing. They're moving toward a model where they reward content the most, not just by views, not just by watch time and retention, but by those things. So, like, if you leave long comments, that's really good. If you like, presumably if you like share, that probably counts as another form of metric. How do you feel about ChatGPT comments? How do you mean? Do you mean like ChatGPT comments on my videos? I haven't really noticed any comments on my videos that jump out at me as like, oh, that was written by AI. That's kind of what the Supreme Court is supposed to do on some level. Yeah, but the problem that I have with the Supreme... Okay, so prosthetic, I assume that you're talking about what I was just saying about, like, we need to have a committee that says, no, this law is unconstitutional. What I'm saying is, like, the way that we have our system now, where the judicial stuff kicks in after the law has already passed. Like, so we pass a law that's harming people, and it's harming people now. And then we have to go beg a fucking priest, and by that I mean a judge who is like appointed, like a fucking wizard. We have to go ask this like dude in a funny hat, hey, can you please put an injunction on this law so that it will stop hurting and killing people while you guys fucking deliberate over whether it's constitutional or not? Because the question of whether the law is actually harming people doesn't matter in our system. Unless there's an explicit rule that says don't harm people, and there fucking isn't one. And it's reactive. And so, like, I understand that that's technically what the Supreme Court is supposed to do, is, like, decide. Yeah, that's what they're supposed to do, is decide when a law is harmful or when it's unconstitutional. But, like, what I'm criticizing about that is the fact that it's reactive. Whereas in France, you can't even vote on a law to try to pass it. If this committee says, no, bro, if there's even a chance that it could violate one of the amendments, they probably are like, you need to reword that in a way that makes sure that it can't even be understood as violating the civil rights of the people in this country, you know? So it's just like, that's the thing that I don't like. And additionally, the fact that that committee and panel that we have on the Supreme Court, they have like lifelong appointees, and they're exempt from all of the rules about not taking bribes and stuff. Like, they are a priesthood that are appointed, and they're supposed to not be political appointees, but they seem to fucking vote consistently, just like the president who appointed them. So it's like, you can't claim, oh, they're like a nonpartisan, like, when we all fucking know, and I've known my entire life, like, oh yeah, if a Democrat gets screwed out of appointing the Supreme Court justices, then we know that when the conservative appoints them, that fucking judge is gonna vote like a conservative consistently. How do you feel about ChatGPT for making comments longer? I guess the idea is they want genuine interaction, obviously. And ChatGPT is bad for the environment. There are some people who will just type a bunch of stuff that's like, I am writing a long comment. This is me trying to fill out the algorithm. This is me telling YouTube that they need to click on this video. I guess I would almost rather you just type a bunch of nonsense than use ChatGPT. I guess that's my position. I'm not going to be mad if you use ChatGPT. I just like... I think it's funnier when people actually put more effort into it. But then, like, yeah, I'm asking you all to do work in order to support the channel, basically. Man, it's only been an hour and a half, and I'm already like, ooh, my voice hurts. ChatGPT. True. Hmm. Cheers, babes. Oh my goodness. Nikki says, I don't need the help of ChatGPT to rattle on for ages. I find it very hard to be concise. Yeah. What about chai? What about chai? Are you asking me about tea? Ugh. I thought I was gonna sneeze right there for a second. Okay, my hair is mostly dry. It's not quite there yet. I'm not gonna crunch it just yet. Oh, excuse me. Okay, I want to talk for a little bit about the video that I posted this week. Excuse me. So, I made my little video about I Saw the TV Glow. I actually am really pleased with the movie, or like with the video and how it came out. I'm annoyed. Okay, I've now entered this time in my life where I have to do the copyright back and forth with YouTube. I put the copyright, or I basically, I put all this effort into getting the video perfect. Like, you know, oh, I want to hear the character say this phrase because I want to, instead of me just saying it, I want the character to say this line. And oh, so I want to put an overlay of the character with me still talking underneath for the voiceover, and then it'll just segue into them saying that line, so it's all the same scene, and I'll just take my audio away when they're gonna say their line. You know, little things like that. Like, I worked a lot on getting the timing just right on all these things. But then I got caught by the fucking copyright guys, and I appealed the first time, and I think that they just automatically deny the appeal. It's like, when you claim copyright, you are legally obligated, actually, to take into account issues of fair use. But they don't do that, I don't think. I think that they just have an automated system, or an intern or somebody that they pay to just automatically decline. They have access to your content. They can look at it. I'm like, dude, this is clearly commentary. Commentary is fair use. In this video, I talk about my personal experience as a trans person as it relates to this movie and the algorithm, or sorry, not the algorithm, oh my God, the allegory. And I am talking about the symbolism in it. Like, this is clearly fair use. It's just fucking obviously fair use. But then they can just decline. And then if you double down and you say, no, I am positive. So this is after a review process has been done. They claim your copyright through the automatic system. You appeal. They say, fuck you, it's not fair use, kill yourself. And then you have the option to appeal a second time. But if you don't, like, if they don't agree with you, then that's a copyright strike on your channel. And there's basically no recourse for them just arbitrarily, like, literally breaking the law to claim your content. Now, the content would have still been public, but all of the monetization would have gone to A24, who owns the movie. So yeah, it was pretty obnoxious going back and forth and looking at the timestamps they provided me and being like, okay, so what can I change? Like, I didn't realize that the noise filter that I put on was so aggressive. It didn't show up that bad in the actual program while I was editing. But yeah, so there were some scenes that it's like, you practically can't see what's happening, which is fine in some situations. I was like, hey, this scene is blue. And it's like, okay, it's all garbled, but you can see that there's a blue kind of tone to it. And then some scenes, no matter what I did, like, sometimes I would like make it smaller in the corner, or like make it overlay and play at the same time, and you can see me talking behind it and it's just transparent. I don't actually know if that worked in any of the situations or if they still caught it every time. And then there were ones where it's like, yeah, no matter what I did, whether I applied a filter or whether I made it small in the corner or whatever, it still was getting caught. So I would just like take a still shot picture and then put that up instead as just like, here's the scene, just look at the picture of it while I'm talking. So I really think you could make an argument that that increased like the visual variety on the video, which is important, but it still sucked and I was really annoyed about the whole process. And it's like, I guess I just have to make plans in the future operating under the assumption that it's going to be that way. I just think it sucks. Like, I really enjoy the format of the video essay where you can do this thing where you bring the clips and you can play the clips while you're talking and everything. Like, I think that that is visually a very appealing style. But obviously, In a Box says the Patreon version was decidedly better. So you can see the original version still. It's on Patreon. I guess that is one thing. It's like, I guess that's one incentive to do it the way that I did it before, which is take the time to do it the way I want it to be the first time. And then if it gets caught in copyright, I'll just save that version for Patreon. And then there's like, here's a reason for you to go to Patreon. Maybe there's not going to be much more content. Maybe I will try to make sure that the Patreon video is always a little bit longer or something, but you know what I mean? Like, or maybe, the Patreon version is, uncensored, or it's just the non-copyright fuckery version. So that was a big annoyance and struggle with it this time. But I am still happy with how it turned out. On the public version, it's fine. Not a huge difference, I guess. I'm just personally like, God damn it. This is the first time I've had to deal with the copyright bullshit. And I didn't have it with Close to You. Or I guess I didn't have clips with that one. But I did the Will and Harper thing. And Will and Harper, I didn't have any issues with that at all. So, yeah, whatever. But as we continue to do more video essay type stuff, I'm going to run into this more often. So I just have to build that time in and like assume that a certain portion of the time that I spend editing is going to be on re-editing and fixing stuff. And so if I'm ever like, oh yeah, the first pass edit will be done on Tuesday, I am not going to necessarily be able to bank on being able to upload that same day that it's finished. Yeah, so that's annoying. The actual video itself, I was really pleased with how it turned out, in the sense of like, I decided to do a little costume, which I don't normally do. I wore something that was reminiscent of what Maddie wears when she comes back as an adult, and is like, I'm here to tell you that the pink opaque is real. So I wore something that was like kind of evocative of some of the tension and feelings in the movie. I can use my background lighting to create the same kind of mood lighting, so like green and pink in this case, and make sure that the pink one is like casting light on the side of my face, which is very similar to the aesthetic from the movie. I also really enjoyed the performance, which is like a weird thing to say about yourself, I guess, but I did the performance and then I had to watch it a bunch. So yeah, that was something that I really enjoyed. Was I took my microphone off of the boom arm. You can see usually here it's like stationary. I took it off the boom arm so that I could hold it. I feel like that is more fitting in with the modern, like nowadays, the way that we do videos. It started with people would hold their little lavalier mic. It's like they unclip it from their shirt and they just hold it. And I've seen people holding their professional microphones as well more recently. So that I'm kind of fitting into the new vibes of how people do things. And it gave me a little bit of creative freedom to like move around and like be dramatic, so that was fun. I enjoyed that quite a bit. I also thought that I had some good commentary. Like, I haven't watched anyone else's videos about this movie yet. And I feel like I was getting some pretty interesting things out of the movie. Basically, like I got the sense that you enjoyed watching the movie and enjoyed talking about it. Very animated. Yeah. I wouldn't necessarily say that I enjoyed watching the movie, but I definitely have enjoyed thinking about it and expanding on it. The thing that I find the most The singularly most evocative thing from that movie, in my opinion, this is going to kind of spoil part of the video. If you haven't seen it, it's fine. Don't worry about it. So, you know, there's this TV show they used to watch when they were kids, and for Maddie, it always felt real, and she felt like her real life was fake. And it turns out that actually the pink opaque was real the whole time. But she didn't know that. She just had this feeling like something was wrong, and she felt this urge or this compulsion to bury herself alive. So she does that. She pays a kid to bury her alive. He doesn't know that she's doing that. But she's talking about how she feels like it's crazy. She's like, I felt like this was crazy. You know, obviously, like, burying myself alive would kill me, but I felt this compulsion like it was for survival. Like I needed to do it, and I didn't have much time left. And then what actually happens is she wakes up in the pink opaque, sees that the life that she's been living is a fake life, and she decides to go back into the fake life to save Owen. And that, I was like, that on its own is like the strongest single like allegorical point for this movie. As somebody who's like, I feel like I'm not living my life in the, let's look at this as the trans allegory, right? You're like, I am, you know, I feel like I'm not really living my life. Like, the years are just passing me by. Like, there's something wrong and I don't really know what it is. And I feel like I could do this insane thing, transition. Like, transitioning, it's a huge leap of faith. It takes a huge amount of trust in yourself to, you know, to believe that you're doing something that is going to benefit you when everything around you is telling you that you're literally crazy and like it's going to kill you. And like, parents and family members sometimes will say like, you killed my daughter, now I don't know who you are anymore. As far as I'm concerned, you're dead to me. This kind of shit. And so, yeah, that's like the single strongest point of the allegory for me is Maddie being like, I feel like I'm going to die if I don't do this. Because that's how it feels when you transition. You're like, I feel like I'm going to die if I don't do this insane thing. And I don't know if it's going to work, but I feel like this is my only chance to survive. And then you do it and you go, oh my God, I had no idea that this is what life could be like. This is a good thing. And if it means that I have to kill the old version of me, then so be it. I'm going to be this now. And so I thought that was really good. And I want to think about like making some YouTube shorts. I really think as a creator, I probably need to think about things like YouTube shorts and about posting them like around the same time as the video is going out. But I don't want to just keep doing what I've been doing with YouTube shorts, which is just like clips from, it's like, this is how my content has been recently, or like, you know, the last 2 years. We talk about stuff on stream in this particular long form format. And then I make a clip for the stream channel that's like, oh, hey, this is like a 15-minute video. And then for the YouTube shorts, I go into that 15-minute video and I pick out some like 60-second segments. So the shorts on my channel right now are mostly like extreme long form content clipped down into short form content. And I just don't think it works very well. So I want to start strategizing of like specifically making short form content for the sake of making short form content, but doing it in combination with, like, it has to go up at the same time that the longer video does in order to serve as like a form of advertisement. The retired sound tech in me thinks you should use a decent handheld microphone. You can put them on a stand too. That is a fantastic idea for someone who has money. I do not have money. Like, any money that we have saved right now is about to go toward my partner buying a vehicle so that I can have my fucking car back. Yeah, unfortunately, I just don't have the cheddar to buy a new microphone right now. Shakespeare says, I suppose my the pink opaque is real moment in life was meeting trans community at Burning Man for the first time. No longer feeling alone, different, no need to be anyone other than myself. Being surrounded by over 100 queers was life-changing for me. Like, this is real and I am never going back. That's wonderful. I love that. I came out when I was so young, and it's been like half my life now that I don't even know that I had like a one single epiphany moment. Like, I remember very clearly one time being in the shower and like crying because I was really dysphoric about my chest at the time, which now I'm not, obviously. I'm sitting here wearing like a bralette. It's fine. But I just remember being like so upset in that one moment. And like, I guess I remember a lot of stuff going on around the time, but I don't think I had one. I'm not sure what the one specific moment of being like, oh fuck, I'm trans. I was young. Lots of time has passed. But I do think like making a YouTube short about that specific, you know, Maddie goes into the dirt and she thinks that she's crazy. I feel like that would be a good YouTube short. I just haven't figured out how to do it yet. Unfortunately, I think microphones are a lot like wine. You might as well just get the cheap stuff unless you can really go to the bank. I disagree with that because having good audio is more important than anything else in video making. I have a nice microphone. This was a gift from my friend Jimmy. It's a Shure SMB7 and it uses a Go XLR. And I think that it really is important to, and I have like a Mogami brand cord. Like I literally got like the best cord that I could get for it to sustain the signal. But yeah, I mean, people will watch a video if it has dropped frames or if it's got crunchy graphics, but people will not sit through a video with poor quality audio. Oh my gosh. Nikki says, I have over 300 professional microphones left over from my last crazy idea. Shit, do I need to open a fucking P.O. box so someone can send me more equipment? I came out in 1998. My father told me to go grow some tits and cry about it. I was 10 years old. It turned out, though, 22 years later, that was the best advice he ever gave. It was wild getting thrown into the closet before even knowing what it was. Yeah, that's wild. Oh my gosh. That's such a young age to know from. I guess, you know, I was like 14 when I started having gender problems. I think I'm about ready to crunch my hair. Maybe give it some tasty crunch. I'm still trying to figure out if my natural curls even look good. And like, obviously this video didn't do great. It only did, let's see. So I Saw the TV Glow got about 1,500 views compared to like my video with, my video about Elliot Page got almost 4,000 views. The Elliot Page movie, Close to You. And then the Amanda Bynes movie got like 2.3K. Like, so I don't know. It's a little bit frustrating, I guess, that this video that I put, like... I mean, that's how it always works, right? I put out 2 movie review videos that are basically just me ranting in front of the screen, doing nothing in particular special, and then the version that I actually put more time into and, like, have clips from the movie and stuff is, like, nobody gives a shit. It's really fucking annoying. Aranak did a great video about TV Glow. Nice. I haven't decided if I'm gonna actually watch anybody else's content about it. Like, do I need to do that? I did have the idea that, like, so some of my best performing videos are commenting about other YouTubers, you know? Like James Somerton and Poppy and Xena and Sophie from Mars. So if I'm doing media analysis now, I could hypothetically create hybrid content that is like, let me talk about this other creator and what they said. So I could like watch someone's I Saw the TV Glow video and be like, this creator completely didn't understand this movie or whatever. I don't know. That's like an option. My James Somerton video still does numbers to this day. Dude, for real. Like what even, I guess is like the last 28 days. The James Somerton video is how I found your channels. For real, yeah. It's not in my top 10 from the last 28 days. But it is, God, get off my screen, dude. It's not in my top 10. But it is my 13th video, my top 13th video for the last 28 days. James Somerton faked his death. So, like, that's still getting views. Fucking bisexual versus pansexual is my number 2 video. Oh my God. Thank you, In a Box G, Mini Christmas. Gifted 5 tier 2 subscriptions. Gold for the Horde. True. So Gayfesh, Nethercat, Mabs, Shakespeare, and Psychoplebeian get your tier 2 subs. That's very generous. Thank you so much. Oh my gosh. My top video in the last month is my video mocking Star Wars theory for his Andor takes. Nice. Did you post a video recently? Oh, my voice is starting to get sore already. Oh, no, this video is almost 2 years old. Oh, okay, so it's a video about the season 1 Andor. Okay. Okay, yeah, the 5 tier 2 subs, $50 donation. Thank you, thank you. Bringing us up to $70. We just need a $30 donation to get us to the stream goal today. Dude, this might be a short stream. My voice hurts so bad. Oh, God damn it. 70. There we go. Okay. Yeah, maybe I'll have to open a P.O. box so people can send me shit. It picked back up in the algo when season 2 dropped. Yeah, sure. It's like I was thinking with the whole like Dragon Smasher Pass series that I guess I decided to start uploading on my second channel. I did think that I should do one for the original How to Train Your Dragon when the new one came out. Although I think that has come and gone now. You should get a P.O. box to send fan art to. I just don't have a large enough, it costs money, to have a P.O. box, and I don't have a large enough subscriber base for it to have made sense for longer than I had one for 6 months, and it just was like, okay, it doesn't really make sense for me to have this. This last weekend, I was toiling in the sun for trans rights. It was hot, and now I have sunburn. No, you gotta protect yourself from the sun. You gotta wear sunscreen. You gotta wear long sleeves. Oh my God. I'm wearing this shirt with a bunch of holes in it, and I have a belly button piercing, so sometimes it just kind of gets stuck in the mesh, and I'm like, ah! Ooh, look at this. Can you even see that? Oh yeah, look at that. I burned my arm while I was cooking. Gnarly looking. Doesn't hurt that bad. It hurt pretty bad the first day, but it's actually not terrible. I pulled something out of the oven and just was trying to do something carelessly, and then just ah, If you need a wireless mic, I've got one you can have. I do actually have a wish list on Throne that has a lavalier mic on it. And it's one where it's like you can contribute $5 toward me eventually getting it, and it will like continually increase over time the more people throw $5 at it. Because I have thought about, yeah, getting a lavalier mic. You could ask Jimmy if he will pay you to handle fan mail. Wait, no, bad idea to handle the Lions mail. Does he have a P.O. box? I would be really surprised to learn that he has a P.O. box. What's up, Rachel? Oh, gosh. Yeah, I think I already asked this. Did any of you do anything this weekend? So actually, technically, I did celebrate Independence Day, sort of. We watched Independence Day, the movie, yesterday because my sibling hadn't seen it before. And then we actually watched Independence Day Resurgence, which I was like cooking during the opening of it, so I didn't actually like get to fully appreciate it. But yeah, it had Liam Hemsworth, and they brought back Bill Pullman, and they couldn't get Will Smith back for it. They got Judd Hirsch back for it, but yeah. I liked Independence Day, the first movie, better, probably better. But it was a jaunt. It was a fun jaunt. Went to a parade and saw a dinosaur movie. Also saw some fireworks. I heard fireworks constantly for the last 2 days. Just constant fireworks. I played board games with friends on Friday. Hell yeah. Hell yeah, dude. So it's good to have fun. It seemed like folks had a ton of fun with fireworks. Independence Day is one of those movies that has a ton of problems and you don't care about any of them while watching it. Totally, yeah. I pretty much just drank margaritas and played games all weekend, so you know what I usually do. Nice. I am doing Dry July. I actually started it midway through June, and literally the first day of July, like last week on Tuesday, I was just having a really rough day, and I was like, man, I do kind of want to drink. And then I was like, dude, it's literally the first day of Dry July. You can't fuck it up on the first day of Dry July. I don't think Dry July is really like a phenomenon. It's just something that I am doing for myself. People usually do Dry January, and it makes sense, and it's easy to do Dry January because you're like, this is associated with my New Year's resolutions, and it starts with that zh sound, so that's cool. But yeah, I just sometimes you need a reset halfway through the year. So I originally was gonna call it Dry June, but I don't know. I started at mid-June, and I was like, I think 2 weeks is not long enough. So instead, I'm going to do Dry July and not have to deal with any of this until August. And I'll decide in August whether I want to drink again. Kind of trying to scrunch out the crunch. See if I can... I was like, how are my natural curls going to look today? Like, as usual, better on this side. July is famously a partying month. Yeah. And, like, I don't, it's not like I was going to 4th of July celebrations before, but now I live 2,000 miles away from all my family, so I have really no compelling reason to go anywhere or do anything. Sobriety requires no reasons, and substance use requires no explanations. We need to destigmatize it all. Yeah, I just was like, I feel bad about how often I'm doing this. And it just was like, I don't think this is good. So I'm gonna take a break and come back to it later, or decide what kind of relationship I want to have with it later. I don't think so. I actually was reading something recently. Y'all are familiar, I'm sure, with the study or the grouping of studies or whatever it is that says, okay, so it's like people who drink sometimes have the best health outcomes, right? Like there's this idea that drinking alcohol in moderation is the healthiest, like, is associated with the best health outcomes. But I watched a video or something that was like, so we looked at this study, and the problem with this study is that so there were 3 categories in the study. There were like heavy drinkers or like regular drinkers, and then the moderate drinkers are like, you know, 1 glass of wine a week kind of drinkers, and then there's like the don't drink at all. And the don't drink at all group had like slightly more negative health outcomes than the group that drinks moderately. But the problem is that in the doesn't drink at all category, you actually had 2 different kinds of people. You had 1, never drinkers, and 2, people who have quit drinking. So people who have quit drinking being included with never drinkers falsely inflated the amount of negative health outcomes associated with no alcohol consumption. Which basically is to say, it seems like there is basically you could make the argument that there is no safe amount of alcohol to drink. Because if you actually split apart the never drinkers from the I don't drink anymore group, the healthiest group is the never drinkers. Like, compare the never drinkers to the moderate drinkers, and the never drinkers are healthier on average. So it does it's starting to look like there just might not be a healthy amount of alcohol to drink, which is fine. Like, it's recreational poison, and it's okay for you to do things that are recreational poison. Like, it's okay for you to do that. Human beings have been drinking alcohol for literally, like, forever. It's a huge deal. Like, I get it. Who drinks 1 glass of wine a week, though? Why even have a drink at all, then? See, very lovingly, I have thought that way before, and I think that is the kind of thinking of, like, someone who is prone to alcoholism. If you're like, what's the point of drinking only 1 unit of alcohol because what I want is to be drunk? That is kind of a dysfunctional relationship with alcohol. And I'm telling you that with love. But I have felt the same way. It's like, what even is the point of drinking if you're not going to be buzzed? Because there are other reasons to enjoy wine. Like, wine tastes delicious. It pairs with certain food. You know, it like has other effects, like the sleepiness that people find like desirable. It's fancy, you know, it's a flavor thing. Like, there are reasons to drink alcohol besides being drunk. I was expecting it to be like people who drink red wine every night can afford healthcare. Yeah, well, sure, that's another factor to look at. Animals have probably been getting drunk and high for far longer than humans have been a thing. True, right? Like, like dolphins will go intentionally punk on pufferfish and get stung by them in order to get high. Bears and monkeys seek out fermented fruit because it makes them drunk and it feels good. Mabs says, I sent in an application for SSI over a year ago. The Social Security office sat on it so long without doing anything that I needed to give it a new signature just to keep it relevant, and that was a few months ago. I just got a letter from them saying that I didn't return a form that they'd sent me and might drop my case if I don't return by the 13th. I never got paperwork from them to fill out. I'm feeling pretty bleak, needless to say. Yeah. I don't know that there's much I can offer you, Mabs, in terms of, like, anything positive, because what they're doing is they're creating administrative difficulties on purpose. And, like, we've actually seen some commentary from anonymous individuals who work in the Social Security system who are basically saying, yeah, there used to be like a thing on the website that says what the average wait time is, but we took that down. They had that taken down because we are so far behind on processing these things. And yeah, you're like, what they're doing is introducing more paperwork to increase the possibility that, yeah, you're going to miss that one piece of paperwork, or you're going to not tick that one box, and they're going to be able to reject your whole claim. They're doing that with Medicare and all that shit as well. So basically, they can say, oh, we're not cutting disability, we're not cutting Medicaid. We've just suddenly had more cases that we don't process. Like, I don't, they're basically just like, well, we can't process all of these because we're short staffed. We can't process these because they didn't tick that box correctly. In a box says, I don't drink these days. It's too many calories. I have a goal in mind and alcohol isn't going to stand in the way of achieving it. Totally. No, I completely agree. That is part of it. I am operating at a slight calorie deficit, or at least I'm trying to operate at a slight calorie deficit, and I have a very high protein goal per day, and alcohol is a lot of calories that I do not have. There's no room in my dietary budget for that right now. I actually dislike the feeling of inhibition that comes from getting drunk. Totally. Puffer, pass, exactly. With everything that's going on right now, I would bet that liquor sales are way up. Well, so that's interesting. That's an interesting... Ow. Yikes. Just accidentally scratched my burn. Yummy. So that is an interesting question because luxury spending is down. I actually think that alcohol... Hold on. Actually, what we're seeing right now is among young people anyway. I don't know if this is necessarily the case across all demographics, but what I've been seeing is studies about... Oh my god, can you get the fuck off of my screen? Studies about how, like, young adults now vie with elders for lowest drinking rate. A Gallup poll has shown that alcohol consumption among those younger Americans, 18 to 34, is actually trending down. So you can see this, like, here's the age range 35 to 54 in this dark colored line. This, I don't know if this is possible to really look at if you have any kind of colored blindness. I apologize if it's weird for that. But so this line that goes down and then to the side, this one is the 18 to 34. So this data started in 2001 and is up to 2023, showing like the ranges here. So yeah, we are actually we're consuming less alcohol in the 18 to 34 range. And the reason I think for that is that it's expensive. Older Americans reports have gone in the other direction. Of course, yeah, we have a slight uptick in drinking amongst the 35 to 54 age range. But people in the younger age range, like, can't afford to drink. That's another part of it. I'm certainly saving money not drinking. Prosthetic says they are also going to make all of these disability hearings in person, so people without transportation and mobility issues will have a harder time getting their cases processed. No, yeah, no shit, absolutely. I know that jokes about alcohol abuse are up with everything that's happening. Totally, yeah, I've seen that. I wouldn't be surprised if there's a general contraction going on between the tariffs and haphazard slashing of social services. People's disposable income is becoming smaller and smaller portion of their total income. Yeah. I'm kind of trying to convince my younger sibling to learn car repair because I'm like, dude, car repair is never in more demand than when people are not buying new vehicles. Like with the tariffs, it's like repair of vehicles is going to be in demand for a long time. Mab says, I know they're dicking around on purpose. These are policies that have been put in place with these safety nets for years. I've been on food stamps off and on for over 20 years. All that said, I don't know. I need to just say something somewhere. This just sucks. Yeah, no, totally. I just don't have like anything I can really add aside from just pointing out that like a lot of people are falling through the cracks and have fallen through the cracks and will continue to fall through the cracks. And like that increases the importance of having local shit. Like, you know, can we have state insurance, and like, can we fund that? Oregon is on its way to being the first state in this nation that has universal health care. There, we have put together a committee that is like required to put down a detailed proposal, including a budget proposal, and they're supposed to have that report ready by sometime in 2026. So obviously, like, it sucks that it's moving so slowly. And basically what we're predicting right now is that the proposal will be completely ready in 2026, and then there will be some kind of vote, a public vote, like a people voting, not politicians voting, excuse me, in 27 or 28, which again, like, that is a long way away. But it does kind of seem like, based on my income, I might actually be able to get like health insurance in the marketplace this year. So like, at least I can afford healthcare. It looks like. I was looking into it yesterday. But it would be good to have universal healthcare, and like being able to put that to a vote in the next couple years. So Oregon is going to be funding its own universal healthcare system. Yeah, I moved like 5 months ago, 6 months ago, something like that. I've been here for a while. It's cool. I know you like, YouTube sometimes just doesn't show my videos for a long time, and sometimes people have other shit going on, so it's not a big deal. West Coast, best coast. It's true. I am trying to convince more people to come up here. It's like, I'm trying to do it in a way where people might actually listen. So I can't push it too hard, or people will be like, oh, never mind, you're pushing too hard, I don't want to do it. Ow, man, ow. I scratched my burn and it really fucking hurts. Ouch. Owie. Yeah, no, it's all right. Kenny. Sorry you've been sick. That sucks. Oh, man. I would be in Denver or Seattle if I didn't have obligations here. I mean, start reducing those obligations if you can. There may be great places on the East Coast, but the entire West Coast is great. Yeah, just like on average. What do you want? Huh? What do you want, Mr. Baby? Because you got to remember that Florida is on the East Coast, and it really drags your average down. What are you doing? Oh no, you leaving? Goodbye. Weird little fucking goblin. Cat time? Well, he left. He was making noise. He was sitting on the floor underneath me, and he was making noise. And I was like, what are you doing? And he was like, leaving. And I'm like, okay, bye. Does anybody else's cat smack around their water bowl? Ooh, we are 1 like away from 69. Fuck yeah. And we are one $30 donation away from hitting the stream goal. Yeah! But no, does anybody else's cat, like, and, like, splash the water all over the floor? It's a nightmare scenario. We can't figure it out. We just call him a terrorist all the time. He's a terrorist who doesn't understand crime. He does crime, but he doesn't understand it. I wonder about Colorado swinging the other way if the Dems don't win the next governor election. Polis has pissed off a notable amount of supporters on the left lately. Yeah. Ugh. I can't even imagine. My cat keeps trying to drink my water from my mug. My cat thinks he wants to drink my coffee on the rare days when I have coffee. We have rules about how we keep things to minimize cat-caused water damage. Thankfully, we have, like, vinyl sheet flooring in our kitchen. Like, super cheap vinyl flooring. So it basically just has one solid plastic surface that even if he knocks water around and it pools on the floor, it's, like, not fucking anything up. But if we had, like, wood floor or something, obviously, you know, that would be a problem. We did get to 69 likes. In fact, we got to 71 likes. Thank you, babes. Appreciate that. My cat kicks around his water fountain to mark his territory. The younger one puts her toys in the toilet. Okay. He doesn't do it every time, but most times he walks over to the water bowl and he like, and it moves. It'll like end up moved like all the way across the floor too. It's like, what is wrong with you? You fucking terrorist. 2 of our cats are always smacking the water dish around. Yeah, I wish I understood why. We used to have a cat fountain, but we have not yet found a cat fountain that, like, works consistently and doesn't make a lot of noise. So, yeah, we were talking about maybe getting, like, an aquarium-grade water pump and maybe, like, making our own water fountain. But that's a lot of fucking work. It's just really annoying. Like, you just have to be careful not to step in water. Oh, I wear socks at home all the time. So getting, like, stepping in water is a sensory nightmare. A roommate's cat knocked a glass of water on my head when I was taking a nap. Now I sleep away from such ledges for floor time. Yeah, you gotta be careful for floor time. We have hook and loop strips for a few purposes. One of our cats will take them and put them in their water. Yeah. Oh, he's screaming in the other room now. Cats instinctively like to drink from running water. Yeah, that's what we've thought before, is like maybe he can't see the water, or like, yeah, maybe he needs the water to be moving and that makes him feel better about drinking it. And to be clear, we put down fresh water on the daily. Like, he gets fresh water. If the bowl is dirty, I'll just pick it up and put it in the dishwasher and give him a new bowl. Like, he gets fresh, clean water. It's not stagnant or anything. Like, it's not gross. It doesn't have biofilm or anything. But he's just a terrorist. He's just like, I am a terrorist. That's what he says with his little French accent. I like having a fountain because it doubles with helping the humidity during the dry weathers. Yeah, I mean, shit. Maybe that kind of thing might be necessary just because we are entering the dry season and I have my air conditioner on all the time. Lately, I've been like, I'm so dry, I'm so thirsty. All the time. I'm so dry. That's never what you want your femme to say. What? You screaming? My cats drink out of the toilet. Ew, close your fucking toilet lid. Yeah. Terrorists. They do crimes. My cat, okay, the other day, so I always think like, oh, Mitternacht is too fat to cause trouble. He's not gonna get places he's not supposed to get because he doesn't like jump up on places. But if he can jump a little bit and then get onto a place by like subsequent stair stepping, he will get places he's not supposed to be. The other day, someone had pulled out the bench to, my granddad gave me his electric piano. Like, it has weighted keys. So I got a free piano like more than a decade ago. And somebody pulled out the stool the other day. And so Mitternacht jumped up on the stool because it was no longer like tucked underneath the piano. He jumped up there and then got up on my piano. And I was like, God damn it. Like, he wasn't on there for very long before I caught him and was like, get off of there, you gross baby. It has a lid, like it's like a sliding forward and back kind of lid that covers the keys. That he was just walking on that, but I'm like, God damn it, dude, stop it! Like I have to tuck in the stool. My cats simply will not drink if I cover up the toilet. They will demand toilet and refuse the water bowl. Man, they're so fucking gross. I hope you have a toilet in your house that you basically just don't use for pissing and shitting. That would be so disturbed if your femme leaned in close to your ear and whispered, "I'm so dry right now." Yeah, that's exactly what you want to hear. Meow, indeed. Cats are extremely disrespectful of pianos. My cat even climbed up into a window recently. I was like, dude, why are you up in like there? Well, actually, what I found was evidence that he had been in the window. So like stuff had been knocked around. But I was like, but this specific stuff hasn't been knocked around. So he didn't jump up there. And I found out that he was basically doing the stair-stepping thing of like, he found something that I didn't expect him to climb up. And he climbed up that, which then he got onto this platform and then this platform and then he got in the window. I was like, you son of a bitch. I've witnessed a cat using a toilet as a piano, or a piano as a toilet before. Ew, dude, come on, so disrespectful. I had a different keyboard that was just a shitty little, one from a garage sale. So like not a high quality one. And we had a cat who at the time, we had a lot of mice. And so he would leave us like the lower half of a dead mouse every, week or so. And one of the times that he did that, he did leave part of a dead mouse on top of my keyboard. And it did have a couple of sticky keys from the blood for a while. I have a cat that puts water on her paw and licks it off of that instead of lapping it up directly. Yeah, I've seen that before. The cats won't drink the water if it has piss in it. If it's just the clear water, it's okay. It just feels weird because it's the toilet. But I mean, there's still residue of shit and piss. Like, you need to, like, if you have a cat who's like, I refuse to not drink out of the toilet, like, that's a toilet you have to clean regularly because it can make your animals sick. The last cat we had kept trying to hump my arm. Interesting. A little dominance issue. A little dominance from your kitty cat. I have to tell you, there's a hole in my pocket, and I have been making the hole bigger because I can't stop fucking with the hole in my pocket. Now it's bigger. So sad. I need to sew it up. Cats will sometimes test water with their paws before trusting it. And like, yeah, is that part of what's happening? He's like knocking the water around, and then it gets on his feet. Yeah. Okay, you know what? I know it's a little early, but my throat really is quite sore. So I'm actually going to go ahead and end this one quickly, I think. Like, it was a little 2.5 hour stream. For this upcoming week, I am going to be streaming my regular stream on Wednesday. That's the plan. I am going to stream on Takis on Thursday. And tomorrow we're going to be recording our first episode of Star Wars Andor Season 2 podcast review. So I have to finish getting my notes together for that tonight and get ready for that tomorrow. And then I don't know what movie I'm watching next, actually. Actually, before we go, do we have any suggestions for what movie I should watch next? Because after I get done with the podcast tomorrow, I do need to start thinking about that and deciding like what movie I should watch next. So I'll probably put up another poll for, at the very minimum, a patron poll. But I don't know, like, what should be on the menu this time? Like, should maybe Mrs. Doubtfire, or like, what can I add to my list for this week that I could potentially... And maybe I want to bang out like a quick video that's going to be a little bit less intense then I saw the TV glow. I don't know. I'm open to any suggestions. If anybody's like, ooh, I for real want to see this review in a soon kind of immediate sense. Why is my phone making noise? Stop making noise. Why are you doing that? I don't know. I'm like, Mrs. Doubtfire is the one that comes up because it's just like a classic. You've seen Hedwig. It's been a long time since I've seen Hedwig. Should I do Hedwig and the Angry Inch? I saw it when I was a teenager, like right around the time that I was figuring out that I was trans, but I can't remember which happened. No. I came out as trans and someone was like, oh, you should watch this movie. I think that's what happened. So Hedwig and the Angry Inch is an option, potentially. I don't know. I'm interested to see what people say. I'll put out another, maybe I'll do a little community post today and be like, what should we talk about next time? But yeah, anyway, thanks everybody for hanging out. Sorry for the slightly short show today, but hope that you had fun and relaxed. And I will be seeing you on Wednesday. Bye. Bye.